In Eternal Strands, a major part of your adventure will be doing battle with the 9 massive bosses that wander freely throughout parts of the world. In my time exploring the magical land of the Enclave, I encountered a handful of these formidable monstrosities, which ranged from a robotic bipedal summoner who used his magical staff to cover the world in fire, to a flying dragon who oppressively hunted me from the skies above. Continuing our month-long coverage of Eternal Strands as part of IGN First, today we'll be taking a look at one such oversized baddie, the Ark of the Forge, a hammer-wielding automaton with a deep love of smelting puny weavers into piles of ash.
So in Eternal Strands, we have this massive 25-meter high creatures that we call epics. They roam around the world, and then it's for the players to engage with them or not, but they are at the source of every power, magical power you're gonna get in the game.
So today we're unveiling the Ark of the Forge, a huge towering construct of about 23 to 25 meters. It was built by the Enclave to be able to craft very huge structures easily. He is a blacksmith at heart, that's why he has a giant flaming hammer. It's to be able to help that society to evolve the way it did in the past.
You can find it like the 2/3 mark in the game, deep inside the forge of, like in the underground of the Enclave society.
You know, one of his trademark visual thing you will notice, the first is of course the giant flaming hammer. So, spoiler alert, he does use this giant hammer to create fire in the environment. He can hit the ground with it, it makes like a lot of flames everywhere, makes the environment super hot. So then you need to avoid not only like, you know, the giant hammer, which is enough trouble on its own, but also what that creates in the environment, which, you know, when you fight with him, after like, you know, 2-3 minutes, you can get into a situation where you look at the battlefield and you don't know where to go because there's so much fire everywhere. Yeah. Like, it's not one and done. The fire stays in the environment and it does affect the battlefield a lot.
He also has like an anger management problem because he can get into, like, if you start doing a lot of damage to him, he's gonna get angry, like flame up its entire body and run directly at you to smash your face.
One other way he can react to you is if you climb on him, you know, because he's quite dangerous when you're on the ground, so you're like, oh, I'm gonna climb on him, you know, that sounds reasonable. But then he can shake you off, but most importantly, he can just grab you and just like crush you in his hands.
And then throw you back in the fire.
And just like, yep, in the fire you go.
The location at which you fight the Ark of the Forge is also important because they're going to be roaming around all the maps that we have in a game. So some maps are going to be way more difficult for you to defeat. So inside a forest, you can imagine that everything's going to become like a blaze. So if you get to caves, then that might be a little bit easier. The weather also in Enclave is kind of all chaotic, so sometimes you have big shift of weather. So if you can manage to fight or encounter the Ark of the Forge when there's a big flash freeze with full of snow, you might have a better chance to defeat it.
So as Fred mentioned, it's really good for you as a player to engage with the Ark of the Forge during a flash freeze because everything is cold, so it lessens its power. However, we also have droughts in the game, which has the opposite effect where everything becomes hotter. So the air in the level will actually get to a higher temperature easier, which that is not to your advantage. So maybe if you're not geared for the fight and you're in a drought and you see a fire creature in the level, maybe you should reconsider. So the Ark of the Forge, as you can guess, is a fire-based creature. So once you defeat him, you will be able to get a firepower thread, which you will be able to use in your own toolkit. And we try to keep like a link between what the player gets and what the epic uses, so you'll be able to understand what you just gained from it.
For more on Yellow Brick Games' upcoming boss-slaying adventure Eternal Strands, check out the action-packed reveal trailer. And stay tuned for more exclusive reveals all month long as part of our ongoing IGN First coverage. And for everything else, stick with IGN.